In 2024, I became a dad for the first time, and this year in 2026, my son was born. And looking back, this is what I've learned so far being a dad. So I recently made a video about IVF, about my wife's IVF journey, and thanks for all the comments and the likes and just the conversation that video sparked, not only online but offline as well. So I very much appreciate that. That's why I made that video. I feel like just being open about it. And this kind of feels like a second part, even though I planned it long ago. So I have a list of videos that I want to make, and this video was on the list for a while. So, but thanks to my wife and her bravery and her decision making, we have 2 kids now. And so the question I asked myself was like, how did this journey of becoming a dad change me, my life? And maybe I learned something. Like, I write those videos not always knowing where, you know, the journey would lead me, and just writing things out there. And I can't possibly put everything in one video simply because I can't think of everything at once, because then I'm editing and I think of something else, then I watch the video again and I feel like, oh, I should have said that. So excuse me if I'm not thinking of everything that should be in this video. Cleaning, cooking, walking the dog, and just, you know, keeping our old daughter happy and then just occupied became my sole focus. And we've always shared the load, my wife Danny and I. So when Danny, you know, had to stay in bed or on the couch because of healing and stuff, in those first 4 weeks I was just the sole caretaker of all of those stuff. And the thing is, I enjoy all of those chores. I don't want to even say chores because they're not chores. They can be fun. And especially, you know, doing a lot of things with my daughter, like being there not only for her but with her, trying to, you know, doing the laundry, emptying the laundry, filling the dryer and all that stuff. I feel like, in short, it's very important to just, you know, be there in the first 4 weeks if it's possible for you. Be there, just try to do as much as possible so the mother can just have the time to heal, have the time to you know, bond and recover, right? A lot of people like told us before we had our first kid, Marley, that, you know, just enjoy the last few weeks before the baby's here and do what you love now, because later it's over, all that stuff. And we've heard from people trying to, you know, do parties and get drunk and all that stuff before the baby's here. And to a degree that might be true, that, you know, certain things are changing and certain things are probably less a priority when you have a kid. But at the same time, if you go in with that mindset, which is I think a very negative mindset, I feel like it's not the best to, you know, think that it's all over, it's all done, and so I always try to see it as a priority shift, as a thing that is going to change, yes, but at the same time, it's also temporary. You can still do certain things. You have to just wait a little bit. And that's also nice that some priority shift, like life becomes different, yes, but also there's a new meaning to life. Like all of a sudden you have to take care of this little person, of this little thing. And it just gives life itself a complete different meaning. And I feel like that's very beautiful and exciting. And you can still do things, like you don't have to stay home with a baby. We know people who just travel with their 3-4-year-olds and just do stuff, and you can still go out, you can meet friends, you can, you know, get dinner or whatever. And in a couple of months, you can probably leave them at home with your, grandmother or with their grandmother or a caretaker, yeah, like a babysitter or something. So I feel like, it's not like that, like people make it seem. And especially I feel like including the baby in your like prior life, in your things that you like, obviously not everything, but like concerts and stuff, at some point you can bring your baby to a concert with the proper ear protection, stuff like that. Why not include the baby in your life? It's not about building this new life. It's you got a baby and you include it in your life the way it makes sense.
And I feel like one of the biggest, or also temporarily, things for me and also for my wife is, or was with first kid and now with the second, is the time that you get together. Like at some point you have your nights again where you lay them down and they sleep without you being there or without they needing you. But that takes a while, and now we're still in this phase where we, have a baby all the time with us, which is kind of nice, and it's temporary, so we try to enjoy it, but at the same time you kind of miss that time with your partner where you just are with your partner. And I feel like with one kid it's easier because you can still do stuff with the baby. You can still get food, have coffee, have conversations while the baby sleeps and all that stuff. But with the second kid, it gets a little trickier because you have to also occupy the second kid during the day. And again, it's temporarily, but I feel like, I miss that a lot, and being in that early phase again. Looking back, it was a very short time. Marley slept in her room at night with like 6 months around. So granted, it was a very short time, but I missed that. And just being stuck at home more or less, especially at night, I feel like is also something that makes me very excited to be out again more, to be more flexible, and to have time with my partner. Because I feel like that also obviously contributes how we interact, how we feel together, how we, we are not just mom and dad, we are also partners. We're, wife and husband, we're lovers, we're whatever, friends, all that stuff.
My daughter now, or our daughter now, is 2 years, a little over 2 years, and I love her so much. But toddlers can be a lot. If you know what I mean. But I love seeing her, grow up, develop her personality, and just flourish in just flourish, seeing her character flourish and sprout and mimic us in a way, but then just be completely someone else, and it's so fun to see that. And testing is a thing that obviously happens in that phase, and just the fact that she's experiencing a lot of things for the first time and learning about emotions and learning to calm herself and all that stuff, but then also testing and just trying to push boundaries and push the things she can do or can't do, and no obviously is a thing. All of that stuff is very cool to see, but can be also very frustrating at times. And I think for us, especially for me, it was very hard. Like, I've worked on my anger in the past, and it was very hard to obviously not get angry right away with her. And then also remind myself that she's going through a lot of things for the first time, while we are going through things for the first time. We never had a toddler in our house. We never experienced raising a toddler or a kid, and she has never been a toddler. She has never experienced all those things that she's experiencing. So those are very important things for us to realize, to keep calm and just not letting anger get a hold of ourselves. Because especially I want to raise my kid with compassion, with love, and just understanding, and try to do things differently compared to the generation before me. So yeah. When we look back at our childhood memories, they aren't sharp, they aren't clinical, they have like this certain warmth and texture, and digital video often doesn't feel like that, and it often lacks the human analog feeling, like this is a memory, this are family members, whatever. And to bridge that gap, I've been using Dehancer in the past, and I've partnered with them. And it's not just simply a filter, it's a very powerful plugin, and also now a standalone software. And it's a professional grading plugin for whatever software you're using, Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve or Final Cut, whatever. And it actually simulates the chemical and physical properties of real film. What I love about it is the granular control. You can control so many aspects of it. You're not just slapping a look on, you're building it. You have access to over 60 different film stocks from Kodak to Fujifilm, and the real magic happens in the details, like halation or film grain or bloom. All of those things you can adjust, you can fine-tune to get your look out of it. I've been a fan of their software and plugin for years, and I'm super excited for the sponsorship. If you want to try it out and add some soul and some analog feel to your own projects, you can find the link in the description. And if you decide to pick up a license, use the code BOEV10 at checkout to get 10% off. It's a great way to support the channel, and honestly, I really believe in Dehancer and what its capabilities are. Being a father has been one of the greatest joys of my life. I feel like you can't really describe it if you have not experienced it, simply because the love that you get from a kid is just unmeasurably, it's insane. And you are basically everything to them, which is another thing of just like the amount of responsibility you have for this fragile little thing is crazy, and there's so much that goes with that responsibility. But it's one of the biggest gifts I've ever experienced in my life. And sure, I'm a father now for 2 years. I don't have all the answers. I'm learning as I'm going, and same goes for my kid, and same goes for my wife, even though she had way more experience with kids since she was a nanny for years, and is just like naturally the perfect mom. But I've learned that the process is not something to push or power through to get all the answers, because we can't get all the answers. The process is life, the process is the path. There is no goal, there is no end goal. I'm learning again with the kids as they grow, and I've never been a father to a toddler, and I've already said that my toddler has never been a toddler, so she's experiencing everything for the first time. And in the process, I find a huge amount of joy, and it's one of the best things I've ever experienced. Thanks for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you like what I do, you can also support me on Patreon. I post videos early there and other stuff. And yeah, I appreciate it if you do. Other than that, thanks again for watching, and I see you soon. Bye.